Welcome, my friends. BioWare is just not being able to get out of the news cycle. Looks like players are really starting to not want to play the new Dragon Age Veilguard, which is not good. Not good for BioWare. And of course, Ubisoft is back and not in a good way. Apparently, they're not happy about what's going on with the studio and everything else in the world. So, all right, let's check it out. Let's do it.
Hey everyone, it's Endymion, and now the gaming journalists are trying to make a case that they must exist and we must listen to them, otherwise the gaming industry will fall apart overnight.
Of course.
Beyond this, I want to talk about how other journalists are claiming that YouTubers are destroying gaming. And then we'll finish with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Okay, let's dive in.
First of all, it's not the YouTubers that are destroying anything. It's YouTubers, content creators, or whatever that are bringing this stuff to light, and that's what they don't want. They just want us to be mindless drones that just play their games and be happy.
Firstly, we got this article from Vice titled Dragon Age the Veilguard and the Necessity of Games Journalism. Dragon Age has been another example of exactly why players need games journalism more than they know. This article is written by Dwayne Jenkins, who very clearly proves in this article exactly why everyone makes fun of games journalists. They open the article with, "We're going back to the trenches with this one, so it's no secret. Dragon Age the Veilguard is the latest DEI game to be subjected to criticism with zero bearing on the actual game itself."
No.
Because I'm tired and already exhausting myself talking about diversity in games, I'll keep this one brief. So right out of the gate, Dwayne already lost the plot, claiming that the backlash against the game has zero bearing on the actual game itself.
Right.
You're wrong, Dwayne. There's been many videos, especially from me, explaining why this game doesn't work as a true Dragon Age sequel. I actually beat the game last night, and I 100%ed everything, and I got my platinum trophy as well. I know, I have a tendency to 100% games. It's an OCD thing. Anyway, I've been documenting my experience with Veilguard on my channel, as many people are likely already aware of. And all I do in my videos is explain to you, the viewer, why this game is not a true Dragon Age game from the perspective of someone who is intimately familiar with everything Dragon Age. And I've shown plenty of examples in my previous coverage already. The game completely abandons its dark fantasy roots, besides the first 20 minutes of this game and 3 other missions. The other missions being the Siege of the Grey Warden Stronghold in Weissup, which is easily one of the best parts of the game, so no wonder they always include this part in trailers. The battle against the 2 dragons in Gillinane, which is like maybe 15 minutes long at best. Again, they released this part as a gameplay trailer too. And the final 2 hours actually finally feel like dark fantasy for once in this game. But from my 72-hour playthrough, that leaves about 69 hours of gameplay, roughly being nothing like previous Dragon Age games. This game begins and ends with 2 pretty good pieces of bread, but unfortunately, everything between then and now is crap and full of busy work. The plot just fumbles the entire point of this game, removing Solus completely from the equation until the very last 2 hours of the game. It's no surprise that the...
So you only get him at the very beginning of the game and the very end of the game? Man, what a bait and switch.
The best parts of this game all unanimously have to deal with the core character at the heart of the story, which is Solus, of course. When the game is not focused on Solus and instead focuses in on the other 2 threats in Gillinane and Elgarnon, the game suffers. Because these villains are your typical boring god bad guys. They are evil because the plot demands it. Their reason for doing what they are doing is simply because they don't like you and they want to rule everything pretty much. I think we've all evolved past the need for one-dimensional villains in our RPGs as a community a long time ago. There's a reason why people always talk about Kefka from Final Fantasy VI, or Sephiroth even, or the Elusive Man in Mass Effect.
Yeah.
We want villains that are more layered than simply we look evil, therefore we must be evil. I kid you not, if you were to remove Solus from this game, the plot is nothing but fantasy gobbledygook the entire way through.
You know, and the best villains are the ones that actually think they're not villains, you know? They think they're actually doing good or whatever the situation is, but they don't see themselves as the bad guys, and therefore everything they're doing is justified, right? And so that makes up the best villains, the best bad guys, in my opinion.
Combine the fact that since I have now completed the game 100%, that beyond the villains, that the heroes themselves are also very one-dimensional and laughably written as well. The only companion that has an actual story arc that makes sense and has actual lasting impacts on the world of Thetis is Lace Harding, the Dwarven Scout from Inquisition. Her story of the Titans, dwarves being able to...
I wonder why her character is just like so much better in this game, like, because everybody always talks about her as being like a good character and pretty well written, but like everybody else is like, the writing is like pretty, I wouldn't say horrible, but pretty bad. And so it's weird. I wonder if somebody that was writing for her in this game maybe had experience in Inquisition or something. It kept some of that residual like normality to her character. I don't know. It's kind of strange.
To use magic again, and how this all connects to the Blight and everything else, I will admit, it's really interesting. But Lace Harding feels like a real Dragon Age character, which makes sense, because she's from Inquisition, the previous game.
Right.
But all of the new party members here, however, they fail in this regard, because I didn't find any, I'm not kidding you, any of these characters' stories to be riveting at all. Balara is just her repeating the same keywords over and over, and then she fights her long-lost brother. And then there's some mustache-twirling mage bad guy. It's nothing that you haven't seen before. Lucanus probably has one of the worst and most disappointing stories in the game. The guy is an assassin with a demon inside of him. What a cool idea, right? Unfortunately, this is DEI Guard and not Inquisition, so there's no edge to these characters. Lucanus is never allowed to become that dark, brooding, badass, complicated character that he should have been in the first place. At best, he lashes out maybe like 3 times with his demon whose name is Spite, and nothing happens. You're probably wondering, what is Spite? What are the origins of this demon? I couldn't tell you because it's never explored or explained. The only character trait that Lucanus has that sets him apart is that he drinks coffee to stay awake, because the demon Spite can control him easier when he sleeps. So Lucanus is always drinking coffee, the stronger the better. He could have easily been an amazing character, but unfortunately this current BioWare is too afraid to step on any toes. Everything is sanitized, everything is HR demanded and okayed before going into the game, and my god, you don't even hear the name Veilguard be uttered until literally the end of the game, like in the credits. Your main character says the word Veilguard once, like, the rewrites are so real here, dude. This is the Disney Fisher-Price version of Dragon Age. Besides the opening and the final mission, pretty much, everything else doesn't really feel like Dragon Age to me. When I did play that final mission, at least, I could see it. For a moment, I felt like I was actually playing Dragon Age again. The stakes were high. There was blood and violence, dark fantasy and epicness. I was actually, finally engaged.
Why would there be such a difference, I wonder? Like, that's weird, because if it's, I mean, if you put it in the game, it's in the game, so why not just put it in the game throughout the whole entire game, right? Why just have it in the very end? That's weird.
But then it was over, and what I was left with was maybe 3 hours of good content in a crappy experience that went on far too long for what it was offering.
Wow.
This Vice journalist is a moron, saying people are attacking the game with zero substance. I beat the entire game, you dummy. And I know more about Dragon Age and Mass Effect than you ever will. Like I've said before, my channel began as a lore channel for those 2 properties.
Yeah, he has some pretty deep cut references that he pulls out in Endymion. So yeah, he definitely knows what he's talking about.
I know what I'm talking about here, and Veilguard is not what we wanted at all. Dwayne of Vice here then goes off on a tangent saying that a world without IGN, Polygon, Vice, or Kotaku would be horrible for gaming. But I don't think gaming would even notice they're gone, honestly, at this point. I don't agree. We've seen plenty of gaming websites go under already, and much of nothing has changed in terms of information getting out or anything else.
Yeah.
In terms of reviews, when people speak on what reviews actually feel authentic these days, it's never really the gaming journalist websites. Especially in Veilguard's case, since places like IGN or Eurogamer gave the game glowing scores.
Right.
Then people found out the reviewers at these places identified ideologically in a way that is supported by BioWare's current leadership views. Because everything in Veilguard is gay, trans, and hates white men exclusively. I said this before, but it's unfortunately true. Every single villain in this game is either a white man or woman. They also make every faction be led by either a woman, like in the case of the Grey Wardens, or the Antivan Crows, which are led by a black elf woman and some other guy. By the way, no single faction in this game is ran by a single man.
Right.
And especially not a single white man either. The Shadow Dragons are led by a man and a trans man. The Veil Jumpers are led by an Asian and black elf. By the way, the Asian elf who leads the Veil Jumpers was previously in a relationship with Balara, your companion. And the black elf, whose name is Strife, if you don't romance Emmerich the Necromancer, Strife and Emmerich end up being in a relationship as well. So the Veil Jumpers leaders are not only very diverse, but they're both gay as well. The Morn Watch is led by a brown woman and a shadow ghost apparition thing. Like I said, none of the factions are led by white men at all. Everything is either gay-coded or female-led. The Grey Wardens are led by a heterosexual couple, but when you look at them, come on, it's ridiculous. It's a dwarf woman and a French accent elf guy who looks like he came out of the movie Ratatouille. These two do not scream Grey Wardens at all. They look like children.
Right.
Like I said, the entire game is like this, but of course, none of these journalists or publications are going to tell you these things because they purposely omit this information because it fits their agenda. They won't tell you that white men are always the bad guy, like in Treviso, where the Antivan Crows reside. There's a traitor that is kind of hinted at early on in the story that's working with the Antam Kunari to, place the power of the Kunari over the city. And it's so obvious that it's the governor, and surprise, it is exactly, and of course, when you look at him, what is he? Of course, he's a white man, and of course, you kill him in combat during the Treviso final faction mission, and everyone basically says, oh, that guy sucks, and we're glad he's dead. Like I said, this entire game, I kid you not, it hates white people openly. It's disgusting. Wow. It's so obviously done on purpose, and again, none of these websites will tell you that or tell you the truth of it. So tell me again, Vice, why we should care if gaming outlets go out of business. All that would do is create a new order of gaming coverage from independent sources that are not adhering to the confines of mega corporations that are constantly breathing down their necks. And if any of these independent sources end up lying, then another independent source can call them out and then show proof. That's the way it should be. Because you will never see IGN calling out Vice or Kotaku and saying that this article here is a lie, and we'll show you why. Because all of these websites, they work in tandem with one another. It's a big echo chamber and they all parrot the same talking points. You think it's just coincidence that every single website is pro-wokeness, that every website linked back to the Black Myth Wukong hit piece from IGN's Rebecca Valentine where she accused Wukong's devs of sexism. And you couldn't find a single article on any of these websites that didn't in some way link back to that Wukong article, either in their own reviews or news coverage of the game up to launch and after it.
And that's just lazy on their part.
Because like I said, these groups just parrot each other. There's no individuality anywhere here, and when there is, they get attacked. Because I remember when IGN cited people like myself, Young, and Legacy Killer HD when they made a video about Baldur's Gate 3 and how players deserve better. Then they went back and erased my name from the description, but they left the rest there. And you wonder why they did that. Could it be because someone at IGN doesn't want me to be associated with a topic where I am literally referenced in the video on their channel? What these gaming journalists will always do is gaslight you, the reader, into believing their lies. Vice is but one head of this multifaceted hydra that we face, and it's no wonder why these places keep closing down. Game Informer is gone now. Kotaku is down to like 4 employees as of right now, I think, too. These things wouldn't be happening if these publications actually resonated with their audiences. But they refuse to do that because if they resonated and actually spoke to what their readers cared about,
tell the truth about what the game is or isn't, things would turn around for the better.
They would then be labeled alt-right Yahtzees by the other equally struggling publications. It's almost as if when you speak out against tyranny, the only people who will denounce and threaten you are the ones who benefit from that same tyrannical rule and ideologies. So when you ask me whether we would be better off without IGN or whatever else, ask yourself this. How much do you honestly watch IGN's videos willingly versus a YouTuber or maybe someone on Twitter or Twitch instead?
Never. I will always go to YouTube first. I don't watch Twitch. I don't do Twitch. I don't know. I just never got into it. But yeah, YouTube. That's my first and only really go to. You know, if I want to like check something that I see in the YouTube video, then yeah, then I'll go to Google or whatever and look stuff up. But yeah, he's right as always.
It's really no surprise that the Skill Up and Maddie Plays reviews for Veilguard skyrocketed in views compared to the legacy media ones. Because at the very least, they actually talked about the negatives candidly and openly. Nowhere in IGN's review for Veilguard will they tell you that the companions suck ass for the most part, or that the story wastes soulless for 99% of its runtime, or that every faction is led by trans or gay people, and every bad guy is a white man or woman. Even Nev Gallus' story, she fights a woman named Alia. Gee, I wonder what she is. Oh, that's right, she's also a white woman, because of course she is. Vice then continues their argument by saying this brand of criticism extends to YouTube, where content creators aren't bound to any kind of journalistic integrity. Sure, a few YouTubers provide thoughtful feedback on the strengths and weaknesses of a game, but some of them couldn't care less about worthwhile, relevant, informed discourse. They don't have to talk about the gameplay, visuals, character story, pacing mechanics, or any of the other nuances one looks for in a traditional review for a game. Instead, they can turn their camera on and say a game sucks because it has pronouns in it or features too much diversity, or ruined a franchise by introducing any other sexual orientation that isn't straight or gender identity that isn't man or woman. There isn't a conversation, a point to it all, just noise. Yeah, because my Dragon Age coverage in previous videos hasn't talked about the gameplay, story, or themes at all, except that I've gone to exhaustive lengths over multiple videos now, proving to you, the viewer, that this game is full of nonsense, and I actually show examples of proof. Entire video clips, and once I got the game, in case you haven't noticed, all the footage in my videos then on have been from my gameplay exclusively. Like this guy you're constantly seeing in all these videos, that's my rook that I made in the game. I played the game, for God's sakes. I don't know how much more transparent I need to be here when it comes to this. People like Vice simply hate us because we're reaching people in ways they wish they could because they lost their audience a long time ago. And instead of changing their ways, they would rather try to attack and tear down those that are speaking to the people in a way that resonates, because it is what it always is: simply jealousy. They're mad that someone in their room with an internet connection can outdo their entire operation of editors who went to school and got in debt with student fees. I'm beating all of these people with a single laptop in my room. I want you to know that. I don't even have an editor. I do it all myself. I'm in my room right now with a coffee and a tank top and shorts on my couch, talking to you as I speak. And I'm beating these people in every way. I am proof that you don't need to go to school for journalism to do actual journalism.
Yes.
All you honestly need is to have common sense and just be open with people. And of course, they will hate people like me for doing that. Well, too bad, Vice. You can keep crying, because I'm not going to stop. Because someone out here needs to tell the truth, and we both know that you and all of your cohorts are not going to do that ever. And let's circle back to what Vice said there, claiming that we're mad that there's other orientations and genders. You misunderstand, Vice. The problem is that they go out of their way to ensure that everything is as diverse as possible, while ensuring that the villainous traits are only coded single-handedly into white men and white women exclusively.
Yeah, I mean, like, what if there was a game where every single villain throughout the whole entire game was either a black man or a black woman? There would be like outrage from everywhere saying this game is totally racist and whatever other garbage they're going to be spewing. But yeah, come on, it's such a double standard.
It's very evident that the game here has an agenda, and what's the likelihood that every single person in power who's a good guy in this game is either gay, trans, or non-binary for the most part, and yet none of the villains that you face are trans, gay, or non-binary either. They're all straight and very clearly white. Wow, yeah, Vice, there's definitely no agenda here at all. Just consume the slop, right? And don't ask questions, because we can't have that these days.
Exactly.
Vice then says, it's funny though, Dragon Age the Veilguard is getting lambasted for its inclusive elements because it apparently isn't a 10 out of 10 experience. Meanwhile, I don't recall Baldur's Gate 3 getting a whole lot of flack. Oh wait, never mind, I guess I had a momentary mental lapse. But traditionally, people will excuse all that gross diversity if the quality is high enough, but true to form, that bar is only cleared once perfection is agreed upon. No real-world parallels there at all. Yet again, Vice, you prove that you are inadequate to speak for players because we already debunked this gotcha many times. Baldur's Gate 3, unlike Veilguard, and by the way, I did beat BG3, here's my character in BG3 for proof that I did play the game, in case Vice wants to lie more and say that I didn't. Anyway, that game has real player choice throughout it. And you can play BG3 as a traditional RPG with no pandering elements in your face if you want to. The only time that I can recall where the game kind of pushes LGBTQ+ themes into the player's face is between the moon goddess's daughter and her girlfriend. I think her name was Isabella. It's in the second act of the game, although technically that doesn't get forced on you either, because you can reject and not save the moon goddess's daughter if you wanted to do that, and you can just keep them ensnared and be evil, because again, player choice is paramount in a game about player choice, so technically no. Even that romance isn't pushed onto you either. So in reality, any and all choices are not placed in the developer's hands within BG3, but that of the player instead. So you're allowed to play BG3 as the most base traditional, no-nonsense RPG if you want it to be that way. And you can romance Lae'zel like I did because she's best girl, I won't hear any arguments otherwise, and be in a hetero relationship the entire game if you choose to do that. No character forces ideology down your throat. You never have a moment that I can recall anyway where Karlach or Will, etc. say anything like Tosh does in Veilguard. The only mention I remember where a character talks about their sexuality or anything like that is Astarion. But it's important, and it's revealed to be that his owner, Cazador, abused him in such ways and used Astarion to get what he wanted from others. So I wouldn't really call that something people would hate the character for, because Astarion's abuse, it's integral to that character's story.
Yeah, and so it makes sense to bring it up, right? But otherwise, there's no reason to bring up anyone's sexuality or the preferences of who they want to sleep with.
And him being a victim of his mage owner for a really long time and how it destroyed him mentally and physically for obvious reasons, I think that's important. In Tasha's case, however, her story just ends with her fighting the Dragon King, who's a faceless Qunari guy that wants to make more fire-breathing Qunari so he can take over the world, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, he ends up killing Tasha's mom. Spoilers, who cares? Then Tosh does the now infamous scream face that looks hilarious, and I know you've seen that on my thumbnails before. I mean, come on, look at that. And then Tosh burns the Dragon King, and the whole non-binary thing is kind of whatever. The more interesting aspect of Tosh, arguably in my opinion, would have been to double down on her fire-breathing origins and what that really means. But of course, that in-lore reason takes a backseat to the fact that this fully grown Qunari is unable to figure out what pronouns to use. And Tosh also has the most side missions out of any companion because again, Tosh was given preferential treatment by BioWare on purpose. Vice using BG3 as a gacha is pointless because it doesn't work. BG3 is a true RPG that actually allows you to do anything you want. You can burn villages down, you can ruin the entire world by the end if you want to, kill every teammate, hell, you can even give Astarion back to his owner, which is kind of messed up, but you can do that. But at least Larian Studios gives the player the option to truly do what they want to do with their character and the companions around them. In Veilguard's case, you can't get rid of Tosh even if you wanted to. There's only one pivotal moment later on where you choose between two companions for a very particular job, and that role ends up with that companion that you chose dying. Or seemingly anyway. The way that companion dies, I don't believe they're actually dead, but who knows, who cares? Anyway, you can't choose Tosh for that role is the point. The game doesn't have any real player choice. And now that I beat Veilguard, I have no desire to replay it again because why would I? It always technically ends the same anyway, unlike BG3. I've already deleted the game off my PS5, but as you can see, this Vice article was clearly not made with any real evidence or anything like that in mind. It's a short article, but it's surprisingly moronic as well. That again proves that places like these have zero concept of how to resonate with their readers. Every article is a punchdown, attacking the very people that you should be trying to cater to, so you don't lose your job and your site shuts down. But these writers who are activists first can't realize this, and once they do, it's usually too late, and they will always go down complaining and crying, rather than admitting that they were wrong all along. Vice is full of morons, and that's really no surprise. Now let's change up things a little bit and talk about Assassin's Creed. I saw this article a bit back and never got around to it, but I will now, of course. It also neatly ties into the Dragon Age discourse as well, and it's from Eurogamer. Assassin's Creed boss discusses devastating impact of Shadow's diversity and inclusivity backlash. Our creative team faces lies, half-truth, and personal attacks online. This comes from the guy who leads the AC.
Personal attacks are never good, so, don't do it. Be civil.
Franchise. His name is Mark Alexis Cote. He was at an event that was sponsored by the BAFTAs, or British Academy of Film and Arts. While on stage, Mark decided to virtue signal openly to everyone attending the event. Eurogamer was obviously in the audience, who then heard Mark say this. He said, and I quote, "Assassin's Creed has always been about exploring the full spectrum of human history, and by its very nature, that history is diverse. Staying true to history means embracing the richness of human perspectives without compromise. For example, in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we highlight figures both fictional like Naoe, a Japanese woman warrior, and historical like Yasuke, the African-born samurai. While the inclusion of a black samurai in feudal Japan has sparked questions and even controversy, Naoe, as a fictional character, has also faced scrutiny for her gender. But just as Yasuke's presence in Japanese history is fact, so too are the stories of women who defied societal expectations and took up arms in times of conflict. So while both Naoe and Yasuke's stories are works of historical fiction, they reflect the collision of different worlds, cultures, and roles. And their inclusion is precisely the kind of narrative that Assassin's Creed seeks to tell, one that reflects the complexity and interconnectedness of our shared history. And this isn't new ground for the franchise. From Altair to Aveline de Grand Prix to Connor, we're constantly introducing protagonists from diverse, racial, ethnic, and gender identities. His story is inherently diverse, and so is Assassin's Creed and the stories that we tell. So to be clear, our commitment to inclusivity is grounded in historical authenticity and respect for diverse perspectives, not driven by modern agendas, end quote. This is a lie. Naoe would not have taken up arms in Japan at the time. Female shinobis never existed either. They were just a concept created by Japanese novelists in the 1950s to sell stories. Yasuke has been proven time and again to have done nothing of importance either. Shadows like Veilguard exist for one reason. That's only to promote diversity through concepts like ESG and DEI. That's it. That's all it's ever been. Using Connor from AC3 is a bad comparison because Native Americans did fight in the Civil War and during that time period. Naoe in Shadows is also the daughter of an actual real-life shinobi, yet you of course couldn't make her a man because you needed the ESG points. This is why Ubisoft lost 90% of their value in a year, dear viewer. These people, despite their incredible losses, they refuse to admit that their views and ideologies are the issue, the same as Vice did as well. They don't want to listen or understand the other side. They just want you to accept their agenda so they don't have to change their ways in the future. I have no doubt that Shadows will not go well for Ubisoft. Even the director of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 hopes by releasing his game near Shadows, which he admits they're doing on purpose, to capitalize on being a based product that offers real historical authenticity in the face of Ubisoft's woke agenda coming out. Wow. Ubisoft has also made many of their characters female on purpose, from Far Cry, Rainbow Six Siege, which by the way, has an operator in a wheelchair. How does that make any sense? I don't know, just consume product, I guess. And of course Assassin's Creed. Most of the canon choices in modern AC games have been confirmed as women, yet all of those games market themselves with the males on the cover art. Funny how that works. But like usual, these media types never actually want to listen to consumers and just want to push what they push because they're incapable of true change. Like I told you guys a month back, sources told me that these game companies are going to try to lie to you when it comes to advertising in the future. They've done it with Dragon Age already. Every best moment of the game is in the trailers, and they all come from the 4 parts of the game that I detailed already in this video. The beginning, the ending, the Grey Warden Fortress, and the dual dragon fight. And all of the cringe nonsense is never shown, and that makes up more than 90% of the game. But of course they're not going to show you that. They will lie and gaslight you into buying their products in the future, and Assassin's Creed Shadows will be the next big litmus test for this sort of thing. If it fails, we will witness the death of Ubisoft. And I think this Marcus guy is just trying to play the diversity card, and it's hilarious to me. They really want you to accept Yasuke, who can now be gay in Japan, killing Japanese people, and claiming that it's all virtuous. Okay, whatever
and
you
historically
say, Mark.
accurate.
Should I review Shadows? I am a big Assassin's Creed fan, and I know all the lore pretty much, but after Veilguard, I don't really know if I want to torture myself like that again. I guess we'll see. But for now, this is enough. Let me know what you think. As always, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thank you for 300K, by the way, and thanks to my supporters, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right. All right. Well, you know, I hope BioWare and Ubisoft, I hope they can pull out of this death spiral that they seem to be in, because they used to be great publishers and developers. So it would be sad to see both of those leave the gaming world. All right. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And if you enjoy my reaction, please consider subscribing. And also, please leave your comments down below. I'd really like to hear from everyone. It's fun to interact with all you guys and gals out there. So anyways, again, thanks for watching. And until the next video, stay safe, and we'll have a great day, and we'll see you later. Okay, bye.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear.